Hi everyone and welcome back to IBSpectrum. Continuing with the DP paper series, today we have a guide on how to ace the chemistry paper 2. Make sure to turn on the captions so that you don't miss out on any information. Now, what does paper 2 in chemistry consist of? Paper 2 is sort of the short and long answer paper where all of the conceptual knowledge on the content is put to test. The paper usually has 7 to 10 questions, with each question having multiple subparts. Sometimes the questions are a mixture of various concepts or units that you have studied, hence it is important to have clarity on all of the topics. Now, unlike in paper 1, calculators and the data booklet are required for this paper due to the numerical based questions. Now, moving on to the differences between standard and higher level. SL students have an hour and 15 minutes to complete their paper and it holds 50 marks, while HL students have 2 hours and 15 minutes to complete their paper and their paper holds 90 marks. When it comes to the weightage of the paper, SL students' paper 2 holds 40% weightage, while HL students' paper 2 holds 36% weightage. Understanding the criteria of the assessments is extremely important so that we can answer questions appropriately. Like paper 1, paper 2 assesses objectives 1, 2, and 3. These objectives were explained in the previous video, so in case you would like a recap, you can always go watch the paper 1 video. Here are a few examples of questions you could be asked in paper 2. Define the term rate of reaction. This is a very straightforward question and assesses your knowledge on scientific terminology. Another question you could be asked is to state analytical techniques that could be used to determine the ratio of N15 to N14. Here, objective 2 is being assessed, and you're being asked to apply your knowledge to answer a straightforward question. The last type of question that you could be asked to answer is a more in-depth and long question. An example is, when a small amount of palmitic acid is placed in water, it disperses to form a layer on the surface that is only 1 molecule thick. Explain in terms of intermolecular forces why this occurs. Here, a situation is proposed and you have to use your understanding on concepts, in this case intermolecular forces, to answer the question. These are the 3 main types of questions that you can expect in your paper 2. Now that we've understood the expectations from the examiners, let us break down the structure of a typical question together. Here I have taken a question from paper 2 and we see the first question asking us to state the definition of the term rate of reaction. This is assessing objective 1 and it is extremely important here to use the appropriate scientific terminology and look at the command term to answer the question appropriately. The next question, which is to state an equation for a reaction, requires you to apply your knowledge to answer a 1-marker, assessing objective 2. The third question, assessing objective 2 again, asks you to use your understanding of rate-time graphs to sketch an appropriate graph for the situation proposed. Moving on to the last subpart, which is assessing objective 3, requires you to solve a problem, or as the command term says, explain a concept. This is how a typical question in the paper looks like, with multiple subparts assessing the objectives. Another important aspect that you can expect in the paper are database questions and analyzing graphs and tables of information. Now this question tests your knowledge on rate of reactions, but what you'll see in paper 2 is that there'll be various questions based on all of the units that you have studied, and some of the questions will have overlap of the units as well. Here are some tips and tricks that we at IBSpectrum have for you to ace your chemistry paper 2. Firstly, like discussed, some command terms and objectives require you to use scientific terminology, so ensure that you're using the appropriate and correct scientific terms while answering questions. Using colloquial, non-scientific terms can cause you to lose marks. Next, ensure that you're answering the question based on the command term that is posed. For example, when a question asks you to explain a concept, you can't simply state a definition and leave it at that. Like the command term says, explain the term. Efficient communication is a very important factor that examiners look for. Hence, for calculations that require multiple steps, ensure that you're showing the steps in your answer. Now the next tip applies to all your exams. Make sure to practice as many past paper questions as possible. It is very important to write the correct SI unit so as to not lose marks. Even while calculating, ensure that you're using the correct SI unit and also ensure that you know the conversions. Now, when it comes to database questions, state the obvious. Try to think of it as your examiner doesn't know anything about chemistry. Oftentimes, marks are cut because you're not discussing factors that you may think are too simple to understand. State the trends, state why these trends are occurring, and make sure that you are answering the question. Last but definitely not the least, make sure that you know what pages to get information from in the data booklet. This will help you save time and be more organized. Well, now that we've shared all of our tips and tricks and gone over the structure of the paper, we want you to try attempting the 2017 May paper 2, which we will link down in the description. Make sure to put on a timer, have your data booklet and calculator with you, and try your best. We hope that these tips have helped you understand the chemistry paper 2 better, and we also hope that our newly launched website has made things easier for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share for more IB related content.